assistant professor from Department of English Language Pedagogy at Alta University, Margit Szesztay. And Professor Margit will give us a workshop focused on a wide range of task types to wake up learners and to create initial motivation. So Professor Margit has a lot of experience with teacher training and running workshops, seminars, and summer courses. And spoiler alert, it will be a lot of fun activities. So please welcome Margit Szesztay.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so like you heard, I also work in the neighboring building here, and I'm at the English department. So my language is also English, and I know that's a little bit different from teaching Chinese. I've had the privilege to be in China a few times, so I have worked with teachers of English, Chinese teachers of English. I was in Beijing on a number of occasions and in Suzhou doing some summer training, and I've also been to some schools, so I know a little bit about that context, but I don't know anything about teaching Chinese. And I know that that poses real challenges that perhaps we English teachers don't have. So I know it's a different context, but I think there is an overlap in teaching. And so as the title shows, what I want to focus on today is 5-minute tasks, short tasks to activate and motivate. And maybe you're familiar with some of these tasks, then you can just revisit them. There will be a couple of new ones, I'm sure, among them as well. And maybe you will think, yeah, this is interesting, but I couldn't use this in my context. But maybe there'll be a couple where you think, yeah, I could use this, or maybe this needs to be adapted a little bit, to be changed, and then I can use it depending on, how big your groups are and the atmosphere and the expectations of your learners. Obviously, not all activities are suitable in all contexts. But what I'd like us to do, it is a workshop. In fact, the lecture before me was also a kind of workshop because you had a lot of interactive bits where you had to talk, and this is going to follow up on that. This is also going to be a workshop in that sense. So we will try out a number of activities. Some of them we will just get a taster of, because actually if we taste it, if you try it out a little bit, it will be more memorable for you than just like talking about it. And some of them I would just mention. So we won't actually be able to try out all of them because it's a different setup. When I teach English, then usually in my seminars, there are between 15 and 25 people. So for learning the language. So it's not in this setup when we are, I don't know, 60 people like we are here now. Okay, so then let's get started. Okay, so the first activity I call group picnic, and I like to do this fairly early on with the group. And I tell my students, imagine that this course is like a picnic. So, okay, I'm the host, I'm hosting the picnic, but a good picnic works well if everybody brings something to the picnic. So I provide the venue and I structure the course, but you have to bring things too. You have to bring maybe your own curiosity, your own stories, your own ability to pay attention. So then there are little games that we play with this picnic idea. And one of them is, I'd like you to think of something that you are bringing to the picnic. And now I'm going to ask you to do the same. Imagine that this 90-minute session is like a picnic. And you have to bring two things to the picnic. One of them, if possible, that starts with the initial of your name. So like I could say, my name is Margit and I'm bringing some melons because MM, it starts with the initial of my name. But I could have said, my name is Margit, I'm bringing some nice music, background music for our picnic. Or my name is Margit and I will bring some mushrooms. So it could be anything. So one of the things that starts with your name, and then something else which doesn't have to start with your name, and it could be a story or it could be a personal quality that you're bringing to this imaginary learning picnic. So I'm just going to give you 5 seconds to think of what are you bringing to our picnic. Just decide on 2 things. And if possible, one of them should start with the initial of your name. So just have a little think. What are you bringing to our picnic? And if you've got something, I would like maybe 5 or 6 people to stand up if you're ready to share with us what you're bringing to our picnic. So just the 2 things. So if you're ready to share it with us, just stand up. So you just have to say the 2 things that you're bringing to the picnic, nothing more. So if you're ready to share that with us, can I ask you, come on, we're all teachers. Can I ask you to stand up if you're willing to share with us? What are you bringing to our picnic? Thank you. Okay, just let's wait for others. So we've already got 1 brave person. Can we have some others? Yes, let's wait for others to stand up. We would like 5 people to stand up. Okay, excellent. 2, 3 more. 3 more people. Our cameraman. 3 more people. Excellent. 2 more people to stand up. 2 more from this side, maybe. Excellent, thank you. Okay, brilliant. We've got our 5 people. Thank you. What are you bringing?
Hello, my name is Lee. I'm bringing some lemons and courage.
Courage is so important, and we can make some nice lemon juice. Thanks very much, Lee. What about you?
My name is Natasha, and I'm bringing nice lemonade and a lot of fun.
Great, a lot of fun and a nice lemonade. That's brilliant. Thank you, Natasha. You can sit down, Lee and Natasha. And what about you?
My name is Mattea. I'm bringing mango marmalade and pizza margherita.
Oh, mango marmalade and pizza margherita. I love mangoes, mango anything. Thanks very much. Let's jump to the back.
My name is Julie, and I will bring some juice and juju.
And you too, sometimes you might need it. Thank you, that's brilliant. Thanks very much. Yeah, I think we need a lot of drinks, because it's hot. So it's nice to have a lot of juice. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Papa, and I'm bringing some Fanta.
So you have a big choice of what you like to drink. Fanta juice. Thank you.
Then we bring some fried chicken.
Some fried chicken. So we'll have the pizza and the fried chicken. So it will be a good picnic, right? At the 9 Dragons, we'll have a good picnic. Okay, brilliant, thank you. So that's the way the activity goes. Sometimes I do it as a mingle, that students talk to each other. Sometimes we do it as a round. Everybody says, this is what I'm bringing. And this becomes like a little framework, a little story that we develop. And later on, we can refer back to it as well. But it also just sends the message that we're all contributing. The students there are not passive recipients, but they have to be active. They have to think. It's a little metaphor for that. So that's our group picnic. Okay, the next activity, a summer highlight stories. So summer is just in front of us. Isn't that wonderful? It's really nice to think that soon work will be all over and we'll have like summer breaking out. So I'm going to ask you to think of something that you're really looking forward to doing in the summer. And just think, so, I mean, many things, but one thing in particular, maybe an event that you will attend, or a holiday you will go on, or a place you will visit, or some sort of family get together. And think about, where will you be? What will you be doing? What will it feel like to be there? So think of it as a little story that you're actually going to share, not in front of everybody, but in your little groups. And then give this story a title. If this was a story, what would be the title? Now I'm going to give you an example. Here's my story. It's called The Hammock. And when I think of it, this is what I see. This is the image that I'm looking forward to in this summer. This is, if this was a book, a storybook, this would be my illustration on the cover. Title, The Hammock, and this is the illustration. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to form little groups of maybe 3. But first of all, just make sure you have a title in your head. So what's your title? What are you thinking about? And then in groups of 3 or maximum 4, switch on your social awareness. Make sure nobody's left out. And look around. You can look behind you as well. You can be in a pair as well, but make sure you have someone to talk to. Share with them what's your summer highlight, what's the name, what's the story, what's the title. And if you want a couple of words, but it's also okay just to share the title, something you're really looking forward to. Go ahead, I'm going to give you 1 or 2 minutes to do that. Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask you to finish your last sentence and then stop. I'm also going to use this hands up method. So if you see my hand going up and I start talking, then I ask you to stop. Yeah, so I could see, thank you for being such a great audience. I could see some good smiles as you were thinking about your summer. So I'm going to ask maybe again 5 brave people just to share with us, not the story, but just the title of your story. So if you wouldn't, 5 people who stand up, maybe different people, all we want to hear is just your stories. I mean, just the title of your story. So can I have 5 people? Excellent, thank you. Let's wait for 4 more. We already have someone standing. 4 more people? Come on, 4 more. We need courage, right? Somebody said, thank you, great. So, 3 more people. We just want the title. Excellent, thank you. Wonderful, and just 1 more. 1 more brave, courageous person. You get some mango, whatever, mango jam. And 1 more person? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's start in the back. Sorry, I don't know the name, so let's start it. What's the title?
The title would be Wind in the Summer Night.
Wind in the Summer Night. Oh, that sounds lovely, really nice. Thank you. Okay. No, sorry, no. Yeah, in the middle. You.
Mine is The Silence Before the Storm.
Oh.
The Silence Before the Storm. Okay, interesting. Thank you.
My title is Nirvana.
Nirvana, really interesting titles. Okay, thank you. Silence Before the Storm, Wind in the Summer Night, Nirvana.
My story about the harmony. I'm from
Aww.
Ukraine, so I would like to go back and to see all people, our big Ukrainian nation.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Smiling, happily living.
Yeah, thank you, thanks. So Harmony was the title, and finally? Reunion. Great, thanks. So we had these 5 titles. We can ask about one of them. If you want somebody to tell us a bit more about one of them, tell us which one you choose. Nirvana, okay. So sorry to put you on the spot, but can you tell us a bit more about Nirvana? What way? Okay, can you stand up so that others can hear you? Yeah.
So the idea behind this title, which we discussed the 3 of us,
Yeah.
Would be Nirvana because it associates with peace, with
Right.
quiet, with having time for yourself, time to read the books that you haven't been able to read in the year, and just like my colleague said, travel in these worlds.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Be carefree, and that's about it.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much for being courageous and sharing that in front of all of us. That seems to be like a common theme, this peace and quiet, because many of you mentioned that with your titles. So this is the activity. So I asked you to think of a summer memory, but it could be like, think of the weekend, think of your last week, give it a title. Then the reason why I like this, give it a title, because it focuses people's attention. And even if we are a group of 20, I like to listen to all the titles. And then I ask them to choose one or two for to go a bit deeper into. And the others, they just share in pairs or in trios. So we don't listen to everybody with the story because it would take too long if you have, I don't even 10 or 12 students. But listening to the title, you can even listen to 30 titles. And it's enigmatic, it's kind of really mysterious. And it's, as I said, it's a good task as well, just give it a title. Even this morning, what's your morning like? Give it a title, it really gets you to think and focus. Okay, right, so that was the summer highlight or weekend highlight, give it a title activity. Let's move on. So one of my favorite activities, it's a very, very short one, is I call it picture cover up. And I take a picture and I cover up part of it. And the picture can be, it can be like a lead in to the actual topic, or if it's a reading lesson or a listening lesson. And then I ask the students to guess what could be behind the question mark. So I'm going to ask you to go back to your little groups or pairs and just spend half a minute. Come up with at least 5 things that could be in the picture behind the question mark. So what's covered up, okay? 1 for each finger. Can you come up with at least 5 things? I'm going to give you a minute. Go back to your groups and come up with something. Thank you for brainstorming some ideas. And now, brave people, I'm going to ask you just to shout in some of your ideas. So what could be covered up? Just shout in an idea. Sorry? Flowers. Flowers, great idea. It's nice when you're having a meal or breakfast to have flowers. Yes, what else? A napkin, yeah, to wipe your mouth or your hands, yes? A newspaper, yeah, yeah, excellent. It could be a newspaper, maybe it's old-fashioned times, but some people still read printed newspapers. Yes, excellent. What did you say? A bowl? A phone, of course. We always have our phone next to us, yes? And I think it's a cat's paw. Okay, yeah, so maybe there is a cat, something moving in the background. Excellent ideas. So, yeah, let's have a look. It was a newspaper. So you guessed it, but actually, you know, the aim is not to guess, but to go on guessing, to be creative and come up with different ideas. So maybe if you talk about eating habits or meals or food, this could be a good lead-in. Usually when I work with smaller groups, I don't always use the projector. I mean, I could, but I just use, you know, pictures this size, and I take a Post-it and cover part of a Post-it. I'll cover part of the picture, and then you have a little simple, very short little guessing game. Right, and again, I think it's important to say, although it's fun to guess, you feel good when you manage to guess, but the aim is just to be creative, to play around with ideas. And of course, you're going to brainstorm vocabulary items that belong to this field of eating meals, breakfast, things like that. And then you can go on with this topic like, oh, what is this? Would you like to have this breakfast? What kind of breakfast do you have? How does this breakfast compare to your breakfast? Who is the person, do you think, who has this for breakfast? So it could be like a soft-boiled egg, some fruit, some pieces of pear and raspberry, and maybe some coffee What do you think is the person? Is it a man or a woman? How old? So, an older man. So you could play around with that, develop it. And if you have a cover up, it just gets people to get a little bit deeper into the picture. Through our days, you know, we go through so many pictures, flick through them. But with this activity, we focus our attention a little bit on one particular picture and go a little bit deeper into it. And they're nice little follow-up, write 3 sentences about it or have a discussion about it, comparison type can be done as well. Here's another example. You can just throw in some guesses here. What do you think is covered up? A cat, it could be a cat. So this lady's working, this is probably maybe 50 years ago or something, because she still has an old-fashioned kind of phone and maybe working in the office or at home. Could be a cat. What else could it be? A baby? Yeah. A what? A flower? A towel. Yes, it could be any of these things. Let's have a look. It was in fact, yeah. You're very good at guessing. Yeah. It was a toddler. And then again, you can give them names and ask, why do you think she or he is there? Why, is that her mother or a friend? So you can develop that a little bit as a little talking task. But with the cover up, again, you just create interest. You get into the picture and you create interest. So another very simple guessing game that I sometimes like to start out with is the mystery box. I have it right here in front of me as well. So I always put different things into the mystery box and I ask my students to guess what's in the box. And I kind of shake it so it makes a sound. And I ask, what do you think? What's in this box? And I give the initial, so it starts with an L. So what could it be? What could it be? A lollipop, yeah. Let's at least have 5 guesses. So a lollipop, what else could it be starting with an L? A what? A lion, a little lion, or a big lion, yeah. A lion, yeah, a lollipop, a lion of some sort. What?
Letter.
A letter, yeah. A? Lemon, yes, lemon, yeah. What? A lamp, a lamp? A lamp? Actually, you're close. You're close to a lamp.
A light.
A light bulb. Let's have a look.
That's a good guess.
Yes, it was in front. So you guessed it very quickly. Sometimes I just ask students to guess, but sometimes we play the 20 questions. I'm sure you're familiar with that. So you have to ask questions. Is it a this? Is it a that? Like, is it made of paper? Is it made of wood? Is it useful? Is it expensive? Is it bigger than my hand? Is it smaller than my hand? Sometimes when we do this first, then I give my students a list of questions. So they have lots of questions. They can just look at the paper and ask the questions, especially with lower level groups. And they can ask these questions. Is it bigger than my hand? Is it fragile? Can it break? Is it expensive? And then that also, they're not just blind guessing like you now, but they can also ask questions. So guessing is really good for activating our minds, for waking up. So actually some of the other activities also involve guessing. And the mystery box is also, it involves you to guess. What could it be, to play around with ideas? So these days, I'm sure you also have used little warmers. I've used warmers all my life, but in the last 2 years, maybe I've been thinking through the kinds of activities that I start the lesson with, because I find that there are many reasons to have a warmer. It could be as a lead into the topic, as a lead into the language, because students are coming in from Hungarian or whatever the mother tongue is. Also as a lead into, okay, now we're going to work. We're in group mode, not in individual mode. So many, many reasons, but increasingly also to disconnect from our phones. So it's almost like a disconnecting ceremony that for when we do a little warmer, then we disconnect from our phones. And of course, sometimes it's okay to use the phone in the classroom, but we all know that it can get too much. and we are all addicted to it. It's like a social addiction. So it's also important to have these 5-minute tasks, because if you engage their minds with a little guessing or standing up or movement, it's easier to disconnect from that usual habitual looking at the screen mode, which is not always the best. It can be good for learning, but it's not very good for communicating. When you're actually communicating, listening to the teacher, listening to one another, those phones need to be put away. That can stand in the way of communication. So that's another reason why it's, bless you, good to have these activities. So this is also a guessing game. It's like Hangman, but it's called Spaceman. I think Spaceman is a nicer image than Hangman. I don't like the image of Hangman. And there are many versions, and at the end I'll give you where I took this from, but you probably have your own sources. So the same thing, you have to guess the letters. So can you guess the letter? Which one? A. Okay, so there is, let's see, A. There is no A. So when you guess the letter, then the spaceman starts building his little spaceship. So did you say B? E, okay. E. No E, so he's building his spaceship. Did you say O? Oh, there is an O, yes. M. Let's see, so there was an O, let's just see that. We've had that. And then M. Yes, there's an M as well. Yeah, any other letters? Which one? P, let's see if there is a P. T? T like Thomas? Okay, T. Yes, there is a T. What did you say? No. Any other letters? Which one? H? P. Ah, P. Okay, let's try P. Gosh, 2 P's. R. Okay, let's try R. Yes, that was it. Prompt, like something like a trigger, a prompt, something that gets you to do something, a prompt. Well done, you guessed it. If you hadn't guessed it, then gradually you can build the spaceship. Now the spaceship is complete, and then it's a little game. Then the spaceman goes away. So it's like a little something at the end, so students are happy. So at the end, I'll show you where I took this one from. It's just like Spaceman, an alternative to Hangman. So this can also be, you can choose 1 or 2 words that maybe are from the reading that students will do, or just link to the topic in some way. So we won't do another one. Okay, another thing that's really nice, I'm sure you're aware of, is to do some prediction. That's also a form of guessing. So I'm going to show you a picture of myself. And in this picture, I am 7 years old. And I'd like you to predict, where am I? What am I doing? Who am I with? For example, you might say, oh, you are at the playground playing with your friends. Or you're at the zoo looking at the zebra with your brother. Or you're at home playing the piano on your own. And I did play the piano when I was a kid. So I'm going to give you again a minute just to predict. Go back to your groups or pairs and just spend a minute predicting. Rather, I mean, you can't predict, but guessing. I'm going to show you a picture of myself, and I want you to predict where am I, what am I doing, who am I with? Okay, just take a minute to chat with the person next to you. I know, I want you to predict. I want you to guess. Okay, thank you. So, yes, there is no picture. Obviously, you don't know. I'm just asking you to guess. What do you think? It's a little drill, really, because you have to say a sentence like you are somewhere doing something with someone. So what are your guesses? What do you think? What am I, where am I in this picture? What am I doing and who am I with? Let's have a, go ahead.
You're in the school playing, playing games with your best friend.
Okay, I'm at the school playing games with my best friend. And let's have a guess from the back, somebody from the back. Yeah, go ahead.
You are at the amusement park playing on a merry-go-round.
Okay, so at the amusement park, going on the merry-go-round with, on my own? On my own, oh, that's scary, yeah. Okay. And somebody from the middle, a brave person from the middle. One more guess. Someone maybe wearing a dark t-shirt, a black t-shirt.
What do you mean?
Somebody who's fearless, yeah.
You're at a coffee shop drinking coffee with your friends.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks very much for guessing. So let's have a look. I'm at school, and you can see this very old-fashioned, so we're right about the school. You can see a very old-fashioned picture. Maybe if you're Hungarian, or maybe even if you're not, you have one of these. Usually in the end of the first grade, they took these photos, very formal, where you had to sit and pretend that you're writing or doing a tolbabondás or something. And I am the one up front. On the left, I'm on the left, yeah. One up front on the left, that's me in my little uniform. So it's nice to bring in pictures, it's nice to bring in photographs sometimes. So my students really like that. If I bring in photographs of myself or my family or myself when I was young, that can also create interest. And have a little guessing game, predicting game. They can also then next time bring a photograph, maybe of their families or something to talk about. So having a photo kind of personalizes, and this also has like this added interest, but it's an old photo. And of course, there are many things you can practice, the past tense or used to, what did you used to do? What did we used to do? I mean, whatever in Chinese, how you can talk about things in the past or when you were a child related to bringing in a photo. It just creates that little spark of interest, a little motivation. Yes, so school was very different then, well, a little different then. I hope that their schools are not like this anymore, bolted to the floor. Hope that, you can move around a bit more. And yeah, in Hungary, you don't wear uniforms. There were some good things about them, but many things was a little bit too regimented in those days. So that was the picture prediction. And in my class, again, I just bring a picture like this and I say, oh, guess, what do you think? What's on the other side? And I might say, oh, it's a famous person, or I might say somebody doing some sports. Can you guess what kind of sports? And then they guess, or I could say, oh, it's me doing something. Can you guess? And then they guess, and then I show them the picture. So it doesn't have to be a projection, but of course, if there are many people, then it makes it easier if you project. So yeah, so that was using photographs, pictures, and getting students to guess, predict. So we'll do this activity called blind picture description. And one way to do it is that you divide the group into A's and B's, and you ask B's to close their eyes. you show A's a picture for 30 seconds. Then B's open their eyes and listen to the picture description. So you create a gap, you create a little visual gap. And then you ask B's to share what they heard, what their partners told them. And then you show the picture and then you compare and contrast the B's description to the actual picture. So let's try that out. So I'm going to ask you in pairs. You should be in pairs or in trios, but one of you should be the B who's going to close their eyes. Okay, so can you form little pairs or big pairs, form pairs? Agree on who is A and who is B. Take 20 seconds. Agree on who is A and who is B. Okay, great, thank you. So these, oh, you're already talking. You don't have to talk yet. But it's always nice to talk, but it activates you, that I don't mind. But B's, can I ask you to put your hands up if you're a B? Can you put your hands up? I would like B's to put their hands up. All the way. I want to see a few more B's over there as well. B's. You will be the ones to close your eyes, right? B's. And if not, who's a B over here? I don't see any B's over here. Who are the B's? Some, yeah, B's, exactly. So, okay, if you're not going to try that, you're not going to try that. But those of you who put your hands up, you're B's. Now, can you please close your eyes? Close your eyes and relax. This is your moment of relaxation. So B's, don't look. I'm only showing this to A's. So B's, please keep your eyes closed. A's, this is the picture. B's, don't look. You can relax, you can meditate, you can rest, but don't fall asleep. Okay, thank you so much, B's. You can open your eyes. You can open your eyes. Please turn your partner. A's will describe a picture to you. Okay, go ahead. Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Finish your last sentence and then stop. And now I need a brave bee. One brave bee to stand up. Thank you so much. I thought you were standing up. Would you be the brave bee? Just tell us what's in the picture. That's okay. So turn around and others can hear you. So what's in this picture that your partner described to you? Okay, so what I was told is there's two men standing close to the corner of a building. Both of them are in their 50s or 60s, and one of them is he's wearing black trench coats with a hat and green. Or the other one was wearing a green, brownish something. Okay, that's excellent. Thanks very much. Anything to add? Any from the other bees? Go ahead. It's in the winter. It's in the winter, you think? Maybe that's why they're dressed so warmly. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other? Yeah. One of them maybe has a walking stick. Okay. Anything else? Any other bees? So two people. Yeah, in the back. Sorry? They're standing face to face. They're standing face to face. Wow, excellent. A good little detail. They're looking at each other. They're standing face to face. You're really good. So let's have a look. Yes. Yeah, so one of them is like a dark trench coat. They're standing face to face. The walking stick I don't see, but there is a movement like holding a walking stick. That's quite true. So that's okay. Speaking is okay, as you are seeing. Ah, this is the picture. Yeah, so this was it. And of course, it can be any kind of picture. And it creates like this little visual gap. It's also like a very low preparation activity. I have lots of pictures that I use for different things. And so the basic thing I do with it is just this blind picture description. I show it to B's, and then they have to describe it to A's. And then we can do it the other way around. But you can also do it in small groups that everybody closes their eyes. Only one of them has it open. They look at something and then describe it. And then the other, you can compare the description to the actual picture. A follow-up from this is a bit longer activity. It's actually, this is not a 5-minute one, but maybe a 10-minute one, but it could be done in 5. And I say, imagine that this is a scene from a film. So imagine this is a scene from a film. So in groups, think about, okay, so what type of film is it? Is it a detective film? Or is it a thriller? You will look at the picture differently if you think in terms of different characters. Is it a love story? Or is it a documentary? So again, show one picture which kind of stirs their imagination. And then the cues that I ask them is, okay, in groups, agree what type of film, who are the main characters, what's the setting, what's the plot, and what's the title. So this is a longer activity, but not much longer, and it's interesting to compare. Now for us, just to get a taster, I'm just gonna ask you again in your groups to give it a title. So imagine that this actually is a scene from a film. What do you think? What's the title of the film? Okay, go back to your little groups and come up with a title. Go ahead. Okay, so let's see what you've come up with. Again, can we have some title ideas from the back? And of course, there is no wrong answer. Everything you say is right. But what could be the title of this film from the back? Somebody from the last row, I'm putting the pressure on you. Feel put on the spot. What do you think? What could be the...
Invisible forefront. Invisible forefront.
Go from the front.
Invisible forefront.
Invisible forefront.
Ah, invisible forefront. Okay, okay, thank you. Yeah, great. Let's move up a little bit, maybe from somewhere in the back, but not the very last row. Some title ideas. Somebody who's wearing a shirt that you can button up. Not a t-shirt, but a shirt, maybe a light colored shirt. Somebody who is a man, maybe. A man who's wearing brown shoes and green. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Because of the break clothes,
yeah.
After the funeral.
Okay, after the funeral. And what type of film is it?
Some like mafia movie.
Oh. a mafia film, mafia movie, maybe some sort of crime thriller. Okay, thanks very much. What about somebody from this side? Maybe somebody who wears glasses? Maybe somebody who's wearing a beautiful blue shirt. Looks like a beautiful Chinese blue shirt. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, I don't have any idea about the title, but the film, I think probably something like detective. Okay, they are main characters, but they are in the old town, they are exchanging information.
Okay,
So you were thinking along, yes, go ahead. Please give me a cigarette.
please. Right. That could be, who knows? It could be a code, right? A code sentence for something. Code. Okay, excellent. And somebody from up here, maybe some. Yeah, thank you.
Who drank the last bottle of the beer?
Who?
Who drank the last bottle of the beer?
Who drank the last bottle of beer? Okay, right. So very different titles, very different ideas of what they're talking about. So again, this is also a little triggering your imagination, guessing it. Usually my students ask me, okay, but which film is it? And I say, it's not a film. It's just that I wanted you to use your, so the idea is not to guess which film, but for them to make up. I just took this photo actually just from the internet. So it's not an actual film, but it's just to trigger their imagination and play around with ideas. And of course, you can develop this longer. You can get them to write down a dialogue that you feel the two people are saying and read it out, act it out, come up, introduce their film to us, create the poster, and then talk about, is it a happy film or a sad film? So it could be a good starting point for a little storytelling type of communicative activity. So scene from a film. And you can also give them names. Maybe they're Ellie and Edgar. And then I also like to play this 20 questions. So let's ask questions about them. So I'd ask students to brainstorm some questions that they can put to the teacher or to each other. So like how, the basic ones could be like, who are they? How old are they? What's their relationship? Are they friends or enemies? What are they talking about? Do they have a big family? Are they in trouble? So just brainstorming questions, but the students have to ask the questions. So usually the teacher asks a lot of questions. It's also good to get the students to ask, to get them to brainstorm questions. So that could be like, come up with 20 questions, again in 5 minutes, about Ali and Edgar. Okay, so I use a lot of visuals, and I'm sure you do too, because they're so stimulating for the mind. And sometimes I just say, okay, here's a picture, come up with a little story around it. Imagine that the main character is called Martin Stokes. So sometimes just the visual and the main character can be enough for a little story. So who is Martin Stokes? Perhaps these are his slippers there under the bench. What do you think? Where is he? What is he doing? So that could be just a little starting point. Write one paragraph about Martin Stokes. So it could become a little writing activity as well. So I think the last one with visuals that I wanted to show you is an activity that I call, why did this picture choose me? And as I said, I have lots of pictures, usually this size, and sometimes I bring in, if I have 20 students, I bring in 20 pictures and I say, oh, this picture chooses you, this picture chooses you, this picture chooses you. So not you choose a picture, but a picture chooses you. It's a little bit more mysterious this way. And then I ask them, okay, why did this picture choose you? And they have to come up with something creative. So if this is the picture, you probably cannot see this from the back, but it's somebody ski jumping. So it could be like, oh, it could be, the picture chose me because I really like winter, or I like extreme sports, or the picture is telling me that I should do some sports, or they have to come up with something find a link between themselves and the picture. And here are two of my students doing this activity. And I think one of them, Chila, has a cat. So she can say, oh, this picture chose me because I love cats, or I have a cat, or I really don't like cats, so anything somehow linked to that picture. And we usually do this as a mingle. So everybody gets a picture and then they stand up and mingle and tell each other why the picture chose them. But you can also do it as a round. It's a little, everybody, you go around and you listen to everyone. So we're going to try out a little taster of this. And to do that, I'm going to ask you to choose a number between 1 to 6. So your number could be 1, it could be 2, could be 3, 4, 5, or 6. So please choose a number between 1 to 6. Just mentally, you don't have to say it, but choose a number between 1 to 6. Have you got it? Okay, so I'm going to show you 6 pictures, and the number that you thought of, that's the picture, that's your picture, that picture chose you. And think about, oh, why did this picture choose me? Come up with some sort of connection, some sort of association. So don't forget your number, okay? So if you were thinking of number 1, then this is your picture. Don't tell us, but just think, oh, why did this picture choose me? What's the connection, okay? If you were thinking of number 2, this is your picture, okay? So what's the message? Why did this picture choose you? And if you were thinking of number 3, this is your picture. So think about, oh, why did this picture choose me? I don't know if there are any number 4s, but if you chose number 4, this is your picture. And remember your picture, because you will talk about it in a minute. And if you chose number 5, this nice yoga mat is your picture. And maybe there are some people who chose number 6. And this is your picture, cup of coffee, but you can substitute that for a cup of tea as well if you're a tea drinker. But this is the picture that chose you. Okay? So just have a 20-second think, why did this picture choose me? Come up with a little story or a little reason why this picture chose you. And then again, turn to your partner. Make sure everybody has someone to talk to and tell them which was your picture, what was in the picture, and why did it choose you? What's the link? What's the connection? Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Just again, finish your last sentence. And we will just listen to 1 or 2 brave people. So did anybody choose number 6? And who is willing to share why the picture chose them? Does anybody choose number 6? Yeah, can you tell us? You would need a cup of coffee now. Okay, all right, thank you. What about number 5? Did anybody, yeah? Why did this picture choose you actually? Yeah, you in the back, sorry, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for among the 6 pictures, there's one thing I don't like. I think it's a reminder too. It reminds me when I go back, I should do more exercise.
Okay, I'm sorry. But then it's good to do it. After the exercise, it's good though, isn't it? Okay. Thank you for being so honest. Okay, thank you. Let's look at, oops, this one was number 4. I think, was it number 4? Yeah, okay, go ahead. Why did this picture choose you? Right, you love the forest, and oh, me too. And I'm lucky enough to live near the forest, so it's five minutes and I can be out. Not in a place like that, but almost. There was somebody from the back as well. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm really scared when I walk in the forest.
Okay, so maybe you should do it more and get rid of your fear. Okay, thanks very much. What about the ice cream? Who was chosen by the ice cream? You had your hand up, go ahead.
Actually, I don't like very much how this picture shows me because I have to remember that life is very sweet and delicious and we have to take care of it.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you. Thanks very much for that. Was anybody chosen by this picture? Any number 2s? Yeah, can you tell us? Can you stand up and tell us one? It's a sign that you need a vacation, and this is not a bad place for a vacation. Okay, thank you. And oops, sorry. This was number 1. Was anybody chosen by number 1? Yeah.
I think it's I really like dogs. I have 2 dogs, and I was also born in the year of the dog.
Okay.
So I really like dogs.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah, so that's, again, it's just a little creative activity to ask, not the students choose pictures, but that the picture chooses them. So before we go on to a couple of other activities, I'm going to give you some time, maybe 5 minutes in slightly bigger groups. Maybe you could form groups of 4 or 5, and maybe just turn your chairs a little bit as well, and just share, how do you use visuals or pictures in your teaching, in teaching Chinese? Do you use visuals? And I'm sure you do. I mean, can you think of some specific ways in which you use visuals, or something that's good to teach with visuals? Or where do you get your visuals apart from the course book? Just have a little chat about that in groups of 4 or 5, but look around, make sure everybody is part of a group, and just take maybe 5 minutes to discuss that. How do you use visuals? What are visuals particularly good for in your own teaching? Okay, so just take your time just to finish your last idea or thoughts, another 20 seconds to finish. And I know it's kind of hard to share in the big group, but any brave person who would like to share an idea in the big group, something that came up in your group, how you use pictures or other visuals? Is there anything you'd like to share in the big group?
Most of us agree that we don't use picture as much as we use videos.
Right,
so
yes.
visuals in this sense.
Right, yes.
All of us have really positive experiences. It's really interesting for the students. It grabs their attention. It's,
right.
It's easy online.
Yeah.
It would be maybe more difficult if it was in class, in classroom class, but online it's really because the quality is good and they all see it on their screen.
Right, yes. So then it's really important to choose really well, to choose videos that really have a learning benefit, that are short, where the language is clear, or because there is so many things out there, so I can choosing the right one. But I agree with you, of course, short videos can be excellent. Yeah, so I do too, but the pictures I'm talking about, the visuals I'm talking about today are kind of still pictures, so not videos, but just a single picture that you look at and imagine, or it just kind of feels different. We are in a video YouTube culture or TikTok or whatever, but I think it's good sometimes just to focus on one picture or one photo and think about that. It's good for our minds, because we are unused to it. We're unused to focusing on just one thing for longer. And once you get into that, that can also be just a different mode to explore. I sometimes do something called a gallery walk with my students. So like turning the classroom into a gallery, I take some pictures or some quotations and I put them around the room. And then they have to walk around and they have a little task. So the task could be, I don't know, their pictures, and they have to give it a title with a post-it, or write a question or answer a question. So they walk around and they just look at the different pictures or something to figure out, or where was this picture taken. So that again it has a different feel from watching actually the moving image. Watching a still image, I think, can also be really good for our minds sometimes. Okay, then we're going to do a couple of other activities that are non-visual related. For the next one, I'm going to ask you to stand up. You don't have to do anything, just stand up wherever you are. Sitting, now stand up. Okay, great. So this activity, it's nice if you chat a bit, that always activates people. So, okay, so this activity is called sit down if, and I'm going to say statement, and if the statement is true for you, then you can sit down. And if it's not true, you have to go on standing, but not for too long, don't worry. So if this is your first conference of this type here in Budapest, you can sit down. If you're, oh, many of you, so very special welcome to all of you who are here, because I know that this event has quite a tradition and it's been going on for many years, but special welcome to you if you're here for the first time. Okay, what are you doing, pulling somebody up? Okay, so if you're still standing and if you have been teaching for 3 years or less, so if you're relatively a new teacher, can you sit down? 3 years or less. 5 years or less, if you've been teaching for 5 years or less. Okay, a couple of people sat down. So it's really nice always to have some fresh energies in the room. If you teach something else apart from Chinese, if you teach Chinese but something else as well, you can sit down. Oh, many of you are sitting down. Okay, right. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, so if you've been to at least 3 other events here of this type, you can sit down. 3 other events here in Budapest organized by the Confucius Institute, because I understand this has been gone for many years. Are you sure, all of you? Yeah? Okay, so great, we still have one gentleman standing. Can you help me to help him sit down? Can you say a statement that could be true for him? What could you say? What did you say? What did you say? If you're smiling, sit down. Okay, that's an idea as well. So this activity is called sit down if, and it can relate to anything. Sometimes I focus on the morning and I say, if you came to school by bike, you can sit down. If you had a nice, healthy breakfast, you can sit down. If you missed the bus, you can sit down. I don't know, if you came here together with a friend, you can sit down. So it could relate to a time of the day, or it could relate to the weekend, just a little wake up activity called you can sit down if. So the next activity is called opinion line. And so imagine that here there is an opinion line, okay, a line that shows difference of opinion. And over here, this is the agree. Okay, so I'm gonna say a statement, and if you agree completely with the statement, then this is your position over there by the window. And if you completely disagree, then you're at the piano. And if you sort of agree or disagree, you're not sure, you're in the middle, okay? I'm not gonna ask you to move because you're many, but what I do in my classroom is I ask my students to stand somewhere on this imaginary opinion line. But for you, because you're many, I'm going to walk on this imaginary opinion line, and I'd like you to stand up when I get to your position. So remember, this is agree, over there is disagree, and sort of in the middle is in the middle. But everybody has to stand up once, okay? So let's try it out with the statement. Teachers are born, not made. Teachers are born, not made. So a lot of teaching has to do with personality. If you're not born to be a teacher, you'll never be a good teacher, okay? Teachers are born, not made, right? So think, where is your position on this imaginary opinion line? And I'm going to walk on the line, and you have to stand up when I get to your position. This is agree. So if you fully agree that teachers are born, You either have it or you don't. It's kind of inherited through the genes or something. Then you stand up when I'm here. So are you ready? You have got your position? Okay, so I'm over here. Okay, and I'm walking slowly.
I would stand up,
yeah.
But no one else.
It doesn't matter. You can be. don't care about it. Okay. Okay, so you're standing up now. Okay, thank you. So I'm walking, as you can see, I'm here. So you mostly agree, but not completely. No? Okay. Okay, so quite a number of you stood up now. So you believe that teachers are more born than made, but okay, thank you. You can sit down. I'm walking. I'm sort of in the middle now. Okay, so some of you are standing up now. Why are you standing now?
Because it's almost to the middle, but not yet.
Okay.
Okay, and go back to this. I think people when the work is good, you have this ability, but it also depends on your desire to want to be a good teacher, to be a teacher, you can learn it. So that's why it's close to born, not good, but still.
Okay, and that added element is your desire, you wish.
Yes.
Okay. And what about you?
Well, I think there are teachers who are very talented who could actually give perfect lessons even when they first start teaching. But also there are other teachers that they get a lot of training and then they become better teachers.
Okay, so it's a little bit depends on personality, but it can be improved. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So not everybody has to do that, but I'm walking this way. I'm nearly at the piano now. I'm at the piano. Is there anybody standing over it? So, okay, you're standing up now.
This statement because I think, I mean, take myself for example, I don't think I want to be a teacher when I was a high school student. Okay. But after training, after the professional training, after these experiences, and now I think I become a good teacher, excellent teacher.
Hey,
so I think the teacher should be made, right? Should be made. Because really the professional training is quite necessary.
And what helped you? What was in your training? I know it's difficult, many things.
Oh, it's long. It's long because
did you pinpoint one or two things?
Yes, just like today, and your lecture is really help for us to activate the class atmosphere. The 5 minutes activity is really helpful, and the visual picture, the pictures are really just like function like scaffolding. You know, it's make the class less challenging, but the students are active.
Thank you. So we are lifelong learners and
yes, okay, never too old to learn.
Okay, thanks very much for being brave and being the only one to stand up. Right, so I'll come back here. So I'm back with the microphone. Yeah, so that's the activity. You can use any statement just to get students to think. And of course, it's good if you use a statement that somehow linked up to your lesson, to the content. You can follow it up with a writing activity, but it's just a little initial thinking. And it's also interesting to compare what people think. And sometimes we do it at the beginning of a discussion, and then we have the discussion, and then people can change their minds. They can move a little bit on this imaginary line. And of course, again, there is no right or wrong, but it just gets people to think and then to justify, why do I think this? What's my view on this? So that's the opinion line. And sometimes a quick little wake up activity that I like is just called correct the teacher. So I just bring a couple of sentences that they are like the typical mistakes that my students make, and I make them and they have to correct me. In any case, it's good to have a friendly relationship with mistakes. I'm sure you're aware that students are not afraid of making mistakes, but they're ready to give it a try. So this activity also kind of, it's better for the students to correct the teacher. It's a good feeling for them. So I'm gonna make some mistakes, and if you can spot the mistake. Oh, these are not my mistakes, sorry. Yeah, these are my mistakes. So if you can spot the mistake, then please put up your hand and correct me. So my first sentence is, the class yesterday was really various. The class yesterday was really various. We played games, we watched the video, we looked at pictures. The class was really various. Can you spot the mistake? You're not sure? Go ahead, try. Yeah, varied. Because you could say there are various things in the room. There is this and that, but the class is varied. Somehow Hungarian learners tend to get this wrong, this variety, varied thing. Yeah, that was it. So the class was really varied, not various. Okay, another one is, well, I really want to do my best. You know, I'm really a maximalist. I want to be the best I can. I'm a maximalist. Can somebody correct me? Yeah, go ahead.
The maximalist is like perfectionist.
Yeah, perfectionist. It's Hunglish, because in Hungarian we say maximalista vagyok, but in English it's perfectionist. So most of these, for my learners, most of the mistakes come. It's not a big deal because people will understand it, but my students are going to be future teachers of English, so that's why it's important for them to really focus on these things. What about this one? I'm not very punctual in grammar. I'm not very punctual. I'm okay, but I'm not very punctual in grammar. You can just shout in there if you think what it is. Straight? Strict? Precise? Yeah. Precise. I'm not very precise in grammar. Yeah, because punctual, it only refers to time. So if you're punctual, then you arrive at the same time. But this student was mixing up, yeah, precise and punctual. Or I'm not, yeah, I think precise is a good one there. And what about, I don't know how she looks like. I only saw her once and I don't know how she looks like. What she looks like. This is maybe typical Hunglish mistake number 1 or 2. So it's like what she looks like. Again, it's not a big deal. Everybody will understand you if you say how she looks like, but it should be what she looks like. And again, so if you want to work on your grammar. So I usually collect together the typical mistakes that my students make. And then we have this little activity, correct the teacher that I make the mistakes in. And they can correct me. Okay, and finally, I just wanted to do a couple of really just little wake up activities. So they don't even have to do with language, but just waking up. Sometimes my students need that. So one of the things we do is just little clapping games. So I'm gonna clap a rhythm and I'd like you to just repeat the rhythm. You don't even have to stand up, just sitting. Okay, but have your hands ready to clap the rhythm that I clap. Are you ready? You're so good. You're very good at the clapping, mirroring my claps. And because we have smaller groups, sometimes we also do this throw and catch, that I throw the clap to somebody, they catch it, and they throw it on to somebody else. They find somebody and they throw it on to somebody else. So there are 2 movements, throw and catch, throw and catch. I'm going to ask you to try that, just that. Throw and catch, throw and catch, throw and catch. Okay, so I'm going to throw the clap to somebody. I want you to catch it and then look for somebody else and throw it onto them. And just to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to ask about 10 people to stand up. You don't have to do anything except just this game. So can I ask 10 people to stand up? Thank you. We've got 1, 2, just a couple of more. I won't ask you anything else. 3, 4, excellent. Maybe, okay, brilliant. That's it. That's okay, great. That's enough. So I'm going to move from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the clap to you, and then you just throw it to somebody else, and it just goes around. And once you have had the clap, you can sit down. Okay. Yeah, okay. You're brilliant. Thank you. Let's give them a hand. So just little activities like that, just to wake people up, a little playing around with the clap or rhythm can also be really useful. So I also wanted to leave a little bit of time for questions. So if you have any questions or comments, this is the time for you to formulate your questions or comments. And just as an intro to that, so this was called 5-minute activities. So I'm suggesting that you start the lesson with something activating, but of course they can come in, because teachers sometimes ask me, where does this come in, these activities? They could be at the beginning, but they could also be when students have a little bit, they are low on energy. But of course, you can also weave it into your lesson plan. So you can also use a picture as a trigger for a writing activity, or the picture cover up as something that leads up to the topic when you're working on vocabulary. So you can read, you know your context and you know what you can bring in. But I'm really happy for any questions or comments.
Like an average, how many of these games do you use in one class?
How many of these games do I use in one class? On average, well, it depends on what I'm teaching. But I teach methodology, and then a lot more. But maybe 2 or 3. I would say maybe 2 or 3, just to make sure. Of course, I also do the more traditional kinds of things when we do more like grammar oriented or writing or reading. But I do find that these little activities tend to wake people up, and then their focus is longer when they do other activities. Any other questions or comments? About any of the activities or anything else? While you were thinking, I just wanted to show you, if you're a Hungarian speaker, then there is an article here where some of these activities are written down, but that's in Hungarian. And also the Spaceman, I'm sure you can find that if you Google it, but that's the one that we use for the prompt guessing game. That was, if you just Google Spaceman or alternative to Hangman, then you will find that activity. So, I mean, there's so many resources. I just focused on these because it can be a bit overwhelming sometimes to have a lot of resources. Anything else? Anything else you'd like to ask or comment on or share? Yes, yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. It was really very interesting. I'm sure that students like children, they also like to participate in games. They like to have something interesting and new. And thank you very much for sharing this information. I'm sure all of us will use something from the lecture, and it would be very helpful and useful for us in teaching.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, then thank you for being such a great audience and trying things out. And I think also Uwe before me was talking about the importance of having an association or a network. And I think that's something you're about to do as well, no? I mean, organize a network or something. I think that's going to be happening later today. So yeah, thank you very much for being so active and participating. And I wish you good luck for the rest of the conference as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Margit. Certainly, we learned a lot from you, and those activities are very fun, very engaging students. So thank you again.